The UPA artists, and they were artists, not businessmen, as time certainly proved, all had worked at the Walt Disney Studio during the studio's great flowering at the time of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Fantasia. And to get work as artists during the Depression, even the waning years of the Depression, was a big deal. So they were all grateful for the work, loved the work they were doing at first. Because they were sort of the latest hires at the studio, they didn't have the direct contact and personal relationship with Walt that the early artists at the studio did. So they didn't put him on a pedestal. They didn't think of him as this godlike figure. And so they were the first ones to grumble, and they were the first ones to strike in 1941 when there was this very bitter labor strike at the studio. And their disaffection led to not only their leaving, but to them trying and striving to find other ways to express themselves artistically in animation. This eventually led to UPA, first doing commercial and industrial films, then finally doing theatrical cartoons. All along, they wanted to express the ideas of modern art, modern graphics. They were influenced not only by what was happening in the art world, but even in the commercial art world, in terms of magazine advertising and billboard art.
Well, let's see what's in this letter. Oh, probably some advertisement.
They brought all of these ideas together and tried to use them, and did very successfully in their cartoons. It's no exaggeration to say that UPA revolutionized American animation, because although there were some attempts here and there by other people during the 1940s, they were the only studio that had a kind of a mission statement of creating modern art in cartoons. They used pretty advanced techniques for indicating backgrounds and objects and spatial relationships, and that didn't resemble anything anyone had seen before. When the other cartoon studios saw not only what UPA was doing, but that it was so successful that critics were raving about them, that audiences accepted them, I think they started saying, well, why should we be sitting here elaborately drawing every leaf on every tree for a background if we can just indicate a tree in a modern graphic way? And so in time, they all did it to some degree or other. One of the things that the partners in UPA very much wanted to do was not only to get away from the visual style and look of conventional Hollywood cartoons, but every other convention of those cartoons, including funny animals. They were very annoyed when the only way they could get a contract with Columbia Pictures at first was to do a couple of cartoons with Columbia's stock characters, the fox and the crow. They did them, but they did them under duress. So when they had a chance to create their own cartoon from scratch, they developed a human character. Well, there weren't that many human characters in cartoon land. I mean, there was Popeye, who was a very exaggerated, human, but most of them were funny animals. Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Bugs Bunny, Woody Woodpecker. They wanted to go in a different direction, and that's another reason why Mr. Magoo stood out.
This is Magoo. Now listen, Ralph, I want you to come up to Lake Winnie Wonka Punk.
When you get to meet him in Ragtime Bear, he's just this cranky old coot who can't see very well and who's stubborn to boot. He mistakes a real grizzly bear for his nephew Waldo, who's wearing a raccoon coat, because he can't see very well. And that's the setup, and that's what really is the springboard for everything that ever happened with Mr. Magoo after that.
Get yourself a new coat. You're disgraceful, son. I'd like you to see neat boy. I tell you, by George.
To quote the old saying, failure is an orphan and success has many fathers. So there's a lot of people who take credit for Mr. Magoo, and they all have some stake in him.
Which way to Hodgepodge Lodge?
Can't you read the sign?
Well, certainly I can read the sign. What does it say?
The screenwriter Millard Kaufman gets story credit for the very first Mr. Magoo cartoon, so he can't be discounted. He went on to write some great films, especially Bad Day at Black Rock. That's sort of his hallmark credit. You also had the director John Hubley, who had a profound influence on not only that cartoon, but everything that went on at UPA at that time. And he always said that Magoo was based on a irascible uncle of his. John Hubley was an extremely gifted artist who flourished at first at the Walt Disney Studio and had great memories of working there, especially on Fantasia, but then became restless like a lot of his colleagues. And when he got to UPA, he was kind of a visionary there in terms of the things he wanted to achieve and accomplish, in terms of form and content. Everyone who worked with him, I think, was very inspired by him. He went on to a long career producing and directing award-winning animated shorts with his wife, Faith Hubley. And they're wonderful, wonderful films. And they're unique. You can sort of stamp them as Hubley films because his identity in these films was so strong. They're not like anybody else's. Other people were involved with the cartoon as well, and you have to include the animators and everybody else who had something to do with bringing that character to life for the first time. It's fair to say that it was a collaboration.
Now, here's where it comes real quick.
And then you had Jim Backus doing the voice, who had in mind his father, who was a very straight-laced businessman.
There you are, sir.
Well, oh, my little deposit doesn't deserve all that. But it is a nice gesture, friendly bank.
Good luck, sir.
Good luck, my foot. In just honest effort and thrift.
Jim Backus was not well known when he got the job to do the voice of Mr. Magoo. He was at the time a pretty busy radio actor. He'd started in the Midwest, moved to Hollywood, had some success on the Alan Young radio show, playing a very wealthy character, not unlike the one he later played on Gilligan's Island. He was kind of known within show business circles, but not widely known by the public. He was hired by his friend Jerry Hausner, who did the voice of his nephew, Waldo. At the end of the first recording session, apparently John Hubley, the director, said, "Let's do it again, and this time just ad-lib. Just, have fun and, do whatever comes to mind along the basic outline of the story." And that's when Backus really went to town and used his own comedic skills to enhance the written script. And that's what became the Magoo that we really know. After that, he became synonymous with Mr. Magoo. No one else ever did the voice while he was alive, and it was impossible to think of anyone else being Magoo.
My new hi-fi. If I may make a funny, the Speaker of the House. Here's an interesting platter. Must need a new needle.
UPA got to the point that every cartoon studio reached, which was, it's very hard to make a profit just doing short cartoons. All the more so in the television era, when theaters were willing to pay less and less for those cartoon shorts.
Mr. Quincy Magoo.
What? Oh, no, my stars and body. No, I'm on TV.
So they embarked on a project to make a feature-length film. This gave them the opportunity to make a film that would not only be profitable, but would take them to another level in terms of their business. But it's hard to do. It's hard to do today. It was hard to do then.
Brother Ben!
They decided that Magoo ought to be the star. He was their biggest star. There was considerable debate about what kind of story it should be. It wound up being an Arabian Nights tale with Magoo called 1001 Arabian Nights.
Aladdin! Aladdin!
Oh, my Godfrey, I wish I were 58 again.
It was all well and good for the UPA partners and artists to want to change animation and shake up the status quo, but they also had to make a living. And this was very hard at first. They really struggled. And one of the things they had told themselves was they were not going to get stuck in a rut. And they didn't want to have a continuing character from one film to the next. They wanted each film to be unique. But they had to eat their words because they still had to, pay the rent. So when Mr. Magoo was so well received, first by Columbia Pictures, their distributor, and then by the public, John Hubley reluctantly made a second one, Fuddy Duddy Buddy, which was also a very funny cartoon. And then while he moved on to other things, the studio said, we need to do more of these. And Columbia Pictures said, we want more of these Magoo cartoons. So Magoo became the studio's breadwinner.
Ah, good morning, Bottomley. Ready for that set of lawn ball? No, Magoo, not today.
When I was a kid, one of the things I enjoyed most was when Mr. Magoo became the spokesman for GE light bulbs. The cartoons were very clever and fun. They were 1-minute long commercials. They didn't do 30-second or 20-second commercials in those days. They did 60-second commercials. So each one was like a miniature cartoon. It was true to the character, and it was a great match of character and spokesman for a product. And I even have an enamel pin of Magoo with one of his light bulbs. So I retain my fondness for that campaign.
Is this Hodgepodge Lodge? Pay attention, son.
Welcome, Mr. Magoo.
Oh, yes.
How nice, nice.
Oh, yes, it's a pleasure. Meet my nephew, Waldo.
Oh, yes.
He's
I've
bright,
heard so much
bright
about
lad.
him.
He's a fine banjo player. Musicals.
Delighted.
Come on, Waldo.